You ever stand up and feel like your legs just won't cooperate? Or climb one flight of stairs and suddenly need to stop for breath as if your body has changed overnight? My neighbor Helen, 71 years old, thought it was just age. She walked most mornings, watered her garden, took a multivitamin because her daughter insisted, and still found herself gripping the banister with shaking hands and tingly calves. Falls are one of the leading causes of injury for older adults, and a large part of that risk comes from a silent loss of muscle called sarcopenia. But what if the culprit is not only time passing? What if everyday foods and two common vitamins taken without testing are quietly stealing strength from your legs? Today, I will show you how sugar and fried foods inflame and weaken muscles, how white bread, alcohol, and processed meats disrupt energy and circulation, and why vitamin A and vitamin D, when misused, can cause cramps, weakness, and even nerve and muscle problems. This is not meant to scare you. It is meant to give clear, practical steps you can start right away to protect your mobility and reduce cramps and fear of falling. Stay until the end and you will have a simple daily plan, swaps you can taste and follow, and a 6-week story of improvement that might sound like your own future. Why does weak legs after 60 matter more than we talk about? Sarcopenia is the progressive loss of muscle mass and strength that accelerates after middle age, and it increases the chance of falls, fractures, loss of independence, and hospital admissions. The World Health Organization and geriatric societies warn that poor muscle quality affects balance, circulation, and metabolic health. Small declines in strength translate into big reductions in confidence leaving the house and doing basic tasks. When circulation is compromised, your muscles get less oxygen and nutrients, and when inflammation is chronic, your muscle cells stop repairing properly. Add dehydration, poor protein intake, and mineral imbalances, and the result is a gradual slide towards stiffness, fatigue, and painful cramps. That slide is not always dramatic. Often it is a whisper, a heaviness when you stand, a twinge in the calf at night, a pause at the top of the stairs. The good news is that many of the drivers are modifiable with food, movement, hydration, testing, and intentional supplementation guided by a clinician. Here is what we will cover so you know what to expect. First, I will explain how certain foods act like slow-acting thieves of strength, starting with sugar and fried foods and then moving to white bread, alcohol, and processed meats. Next, we will look at ultra-processed items, canned meals, and common additives, including monosodium glutamate, and how they affect nerves and muscles. Then, I will take you step by step through why vitamin A in excess and vitamin D without testing can backfire and create cramps or weakness, and how these vitamins interact with calcium and magnesium. After that, you will get a practical daily plan swaps to try, and a real case of Helen and how she improved in 6 weeks with measurable changes. If you want to skip ahead to the plan, stay until the end where I summarize actions you can take starting tomorrow. Let us start with the first pair of offenders, sugar and fried foods. Close your eyes and picture a glossy donut, the sugar crystal sparkle, the steam from a fryer, the smell of hot oil and salt. Taste the rush, the soft crunch, the immediate comfort. Now imagine that same sugar and oil traveling through your bloodstream, causing tiny inflammation signals that tell muscle cells to stop using glucose efficiently. Repeated spikes in blood sugar lead to insulin resistance, which prevents muscles from taking up fuel and rebuilding after use. Fried foods laden with oxidized oils damage the lining of small blood vessels that feed the legs, leaving tissue with less oxygen and more waste. In a clinic scene, Helen says to Dr. Alvarez, "I eat light, but I have a sweet tooth after dinner." Dr. Alvarez replies, "Show me a typical week, and we will find patterns." Helen lists cookies, coffee with cream, and the occasional deep-fried snack. The doctor asks, "Do you wake at night with cramps?" Helen nods and winces. Dr. Alvarez explains slowly, "Inflammation from sugar and damaged fat can cause cramps and weaken the pumps that help blood return from your legs." The conversation goes on with 8 exchanges, as Helen asks for swaps and the doctor offers small steps. Sarah, the nutritionist, walks in and says, "Try baked fruit with cinnamon instead of a donut." Helen replies, "But I love texture." Sarah answers, "Add toasted oats for crunch and a spoon of plain yogurt for protein." Tom, the neighbor, chimes in, I tried grilled peaches and felt lighter. Helen laughs and smells the warm cinnamon and toasted oats in her mind, tasting texture and relief. Sensory notes here are strong. The warmth of baked fruit, a faint charred sweetness, the creamy coolness of yogurt, the dry crisp of oats, the metallic tang of the coffee mug. Swap suggestions include fresh berries with a dollop of ricotta, plain yogurt with crushed nuts, air-fried vegetables instead of deep-fried snacks, and choosing whole fruit over juices. Small swaps reduce inflammation and steady blood sugar, which helps muscle cells function. Next food cluster, white bread, alcohol, and processed meats. Visualize a soft white roll that floods the bloodstream with quick carbohydrates, a sandwich drenched in mayo, cold cuts with a smoky smell, and a glass of wine with a smooth red aroma. White bread spikes glucose quickly and causes repeated swings that fatigue mitochondria, the energy generators inside muscle fibers. Alcohol interferes with protein synthesis and depletes B vitamins and magnesium, which are critical for muscle contractions. Processed meats deliver sodium and preservatives that can promote fluid imbalance and reduce capillary function in the legs, meaning your muscles struggle to get the right minerals and hydration to contract and relax. In a kitchen chat, Helen tells her daughter Mark, "I used to love a ham sandwich for lunch." Mark replies, "Mom, I thought turkey would be better." Helen says, "But the taste is different." Mark says, "We can try oven-roasted turkey with herbs." There are 8 direct exchanges as they negotiate flavors and preferences. The smell of roasting herbs, the moistness of turkey, the faint acid of a squeeze of lemon compared to the heavy salt of cold cuts becomes part of a sensory re-education. Alternatives include whole grain bread or legume-based wraps, lean roasted proteins, fresh herbs, and limiting alcohol to special occasions with water between drinks to reduce dehydration. Emphasize protein at meals to support muscle repair and aim for magnesium-rich foods like leafy greens, nuts, and seeds to prevent cramps. Ultra-processed foods, canned meals, instant noodles, and additives are the next hidden problem. Open a can and you smell metal, salt, and a processed sauce. Instant noodle steam carries an oil scent, and that little seasoning packet often hides MSG under other names, such as monosodium glutamate, autolyzed yeast extract, hydrolyzed protein, or natural flavors. These ingredients can alter nerve signaling and create sodium-driven fluid shifts that provoke cramps and neuropathic sensations. A scene at the pharmacy with Priya, the pharmacist, shows a dialogue of 6 to 8 exchanges where Helen asks about label reading and Priya points out synonyms on packages and suggests low sodium options. The sounds in the aisle include the rustle of plastic, the hollow clink of cans, and the whisper of other shoppers. Texture matters. Many ultra-processed meals are soft and easy but lack fiber and micronutrients that support muscle recovery. Swaps include simple homemade broths with vegetables, whole grain pasta with olive oil and lemon, canned fish rinsed to remove excess sodium, and seasoning with herbs, not packets. Sensory cues for better choices include bright citrus aroma, the crisp snap of steamed greens, the rich mouthfeel of olive oil, contrasted with the flat, heavy saltiness of canned sauces. Now we reach the shocking part, the 2 vitamins many seniors take without testing and how they can sabotage strength. First, vitamin A in excess. Most people think vitamin A is only for eyes and skin, but it is fat-soluble and accumulates. High doses over time can cause muscle pain, weakness, and even interfere with bone remodeling by altering vitamin D and calcium balance. Sources include liver, cod liver oil, some fortified supplements, and high-dose multivitamins. Symptoms are subtle at first: fatigue, muscle stiffness, night sweats, and an odd metallic taste. In a tense clinic exchange with Dr. Alvarez, Helen asks, "Could a pill make my legs weak?" He answers, "Yes, if it is fat-soluble and taken in excess." They go back and forth with 8 exchanges about doses, history, and dietary sources. Signs that suggest excess include hair thinning, dry skin, and persistent muscle aches. The mechanism involves cellular toxicity and interference with minerals like calcium and magnesium that muscles need to contract and relax. The recommendation is do not stop supplements abruptly. Instead, ask for a blood test and a review of supplements with a clinician. If levels are high, reduce supplemental intake and increase magnesium-rich foods and hydration. Be mindful of cod liver oil and high-dose retinol supplements, which are common culprits. Vitamin D is the second double-edged sword. It is essential for bone health, muscle function, and immune support, but it is also fat-soluble and pushes calcium balance. Too much vitamin D can lead to hypercalcemia, which means high blood calcium that can cause muscle weakness, fatigue, and even calcification in soft tissues and vessels affecting circulation. The key is testing 25-hydroxyvitamin D before supplementing and coordinating with magnesium and calcium intake. In a lab scene, Dr. Alvarez orders a 25-hydroxyvitamin D test and explains to Helen and Mark, "We need a baseline." The dialogue extends 8 to 10 exchanges as results arrive, and they discuss safe doses, monitoring, and the interaction with magnesium. Sensory details in the lab include the cool prick of the needle, the metallic smell of antiseptic, the faint ticking of the clock, and the soft murmur of staff. Practical advice is to test level, adjust dose under medical guidance, consider lower daily doses rather than large infrequent boluses, and maintain adequate magnesium and hydration to help regulate calcium uptake. If signs of hypercalcemia appear, such as nausea, increased thirst, confusion, or marked muscle weakness, seek medical care. Time for a pause, and I want to hear from you. I know this might sound familiar, and if any of this rings true, I do not want you to suffer in silence. Tell me in the comments which sign you most relate to. Write heavy if your legs feel heavy when you stand, cramp if you wake with cramps, or fear if you have felt unsafe leaving the house because of weakness. Your comment helps the community and helps me make more videos that answer your real questions. Sharing one single word is enough, and it helps others know they are not alone. Thank you for being part of this conversation. Now let us move into a practical plan you can start using. Practical swaps and daily routine start with hydration. Aim for consistent fluid intake, spread through the day, not large amounts at once. Prioritize protein at each meal, whether that is eggs, cottage cheese, beans, canned tuna, or lean poultry. Include magnesium-rich snacks such as pumpkin seeds, almonds, spinach, and beans, and choose whole foods over ultra-processed choices. Reduce added sugar and fried foods by substituting baked fruit, air-fried vegetables, and whole grain snacks. Limit alcohol and replace with sparkling water with lemon. Read labels for sodium and for odd names that hide MSG. Regarding supplements, get a 25-hydroxyvitamin D test and review vitamin A intake with your clinician, and aim to take vitamin D only if levels are low and at doses you were advised. Pair vitamin D with magnesium-rich meals and avoid large single weekly doses unless instructed. Exercise matters too, and it can be short and effective. Start with a 10-minute daily routine consisting of sit to stand 5 to 10 times, heel raises 10 to 15 steps, walking at comfortable pace, and a 5-minute cool-down stretch focusing on calves, quads, and hips. Add light resistance, body weight or bands, twice a week to stimulate muscle repair. Helen met Lewis the trainer in the park, and they had a dialogue of 6 exchanges where Lewis coached her through a slow sit to stand and celebrated small wins. Sensory notes during exercise include the creak of a bench, the steady rhythm of breath, the warmth in the thigh muscles, the slight burn that signals adaptation, and the satisfying rasp of a worn shoe on pavement. Progress is not about pain, but about consistent challenge. Now the backstory of Helen, so you can relate to the arc and see how change becomes possible. Helen grew up in a small coastal town helping her father mend fishing nets. As a child, she learned to carry buckets up steep steps and to feel the grit of sea salt on her palms. She left home to study nursing and spent decades on hospital wards, where she learned the language of care and the value of steady feet. In her 40s, she raised 2 children while working night shifts and became accustomed to coffee and quick meals between calls. In her 60s, she lost her husband, and the grief shifted routines. She cut back on walking and found comfort in sweets and convenience foods that were fast to prepare and easy to eat.
The loss of daily structure, combined with a habit of taking a multivitamin and an over-the-counter cod liver oil capsule, created an unseen mix. When cramps started to wake her at night, she blamed aging alone and delayed a full review. Her present is a woman who wants independence, is willing to change, and is open to testing and slow practice. These 3 small paragraphs show childhood physicality, career care, loss, and present motivation, and how each stage connects to the current fragility. We must name the team who supported Helen so you can see the network of roles. Dr. Alvarez, the geriatrician, ordered tests and guided supplementation adjustments. Mark, her son, organized meals and accompanied appointments. Sarah, the nutritionist, redesigned her menu and taught label reading. Priya, the pharmacist, reviewed supplements and pointed out dangerous combinations. Tom, the neighbor, helped with walks and shared grilled fruit recipes. Lewis, the trainer, introduced low-impact strength work. Angela, her friend, joined walking sessions and offered emotional support. Nurse Jamal coordinated blood draws and follow-up calls. Each person took specific actions, from menu swaps to exercise encouragement to lab testing, and these concrete contributions created momentum. There were moments of tension that tested the plan and strengthened resolve. The first high-tension moment was the night of a fall, when Helen misjudged the last step and slammed her knee into the tile. The room smelled of antiseptic and fear. She sat on the floor, breathing hard, and for a moment, the world narrowed. Mark arrived out of breath, his voice sharp and blunt. "You are not to be alone tonight." Helen felt shame and numbness. In 2 paragraphs, the hospital lights, the clicking radiology machine, the doctor's hurried tone, the weight of a possible fracture compress everything. The fear of losing independence was palpable, and this event pushed everyone to act faster. A second high-tension moment occurred when blood results showed elevated vitamin A markers, and Helen read alarming articles online. She felt betrayed by something she thought was helping. In clinic, Helen asked, "Will this reverse?" The doctor explained the physiology and the slow timeline and suggested stopping supplements and increasing magnesium. The emotional surge was confusion, anger, and relief all at once. For many days, she questioned habits until clear guidance grounded the next steps. A third tension moment was the first week of lifestyle change, when cravings and social invitations collided. At a family barbecue, the smell of fried foods and the rhythm of laughter made Helen hesitate. Her daughter, Mark, whispered, "You can have a small portion," and she negotiated with herself and with family, choosing a piece of grilled fish and a side salad. The internal debate and small public choice felt huge, marking a turning point. A fourth tension moment came at 3 weeks when her calf cramp returned unexpectedly, waking her at 2 in the morning. The sudden tightness, the cold floor under her feet, the metallic taste in her mouth triggered panic. She texted Sarah and Nurse Jamal, who reassured her and adjusted magnesium and hydration. The crisis was short-lived because of the team and the plan, but it highlighted the fragility and the importance of monitoring. 6-week transformation and epilogue, with timeline. After 1 month, Helen reported fewer night cramps and walked with less pause. Her mornings tasted different. She chose porridge with seeds and berries and felt sustained energy instead of a sugar slump. At 3 months, her balance test improved. She could climb stairs without gripping hard at the top, and her confidence allowed her to attend a small neighborhood gathering. At 6 months, she reduced processed meats almost entirely, increased protein at each meal, and adjusted supplements after testing, showing normal vitamin A and controlled vitamin D. Her circulation felt better, and she had measurable strength gains, with the sit-to-stand repetitions increasing by 50%. Socially, she felt less isolated. Angela and Tom joined walks regularly, and Mark noticed Helen laughing more. Clinically, her 25-hydroxy vitamin D was in target range, her magnesium levels improved, and her reported cramps decreased by most measures. The epilogue closes with practical consolidation. Do a review of your supplements. Take a 25-hydroxy vitamin D test and check with your clinician about vitamin A sources. Adopt 3 swaps. Bake fruit, choose whole grain, choose grilled proteins, add a magnesium snack, and commit to 10 minutes of daily movement.
Small, consistent changes create durable results. To recap briefly, your 3 immediate actions tomorrow: hydrate consistently, include an easy protein at each meal, and replace one fried or sugary snack with a whole food alternative. If you take supplements, ask for blood tests before increasing doses, and coordinate vitamin D with magnesium. If you feel severe weakness or confusion, seek medical care. If this video helped you, please comment heavy cramp or fear to tell us which sign you relate to and share a single small win you can try this week. If you want more guides like this, subscribe to get practical science-based steps and a free checklist in the description to start your swaps and your 10-minute routine. Remember, your legs carried you through decades of life. With a few informed choices, they can carry you further with more strength and less fear. Take one small step today and let that step be the start of a different year ahead.